Hey, it's Vanessa, the Crafty Gemini, and in this video tutorial, I want to share with you a tip to correct a mistake that I see a lot of beginning quilters make when they're pressing their patchwork pieces. Now, when we make quilts, we know we start off with patchwork pieces. Whether they're small or big, they all get sewn together to create the finished full design of your quilt top. Now, I like to say that there are 3 steps to ensure accurate patchwork pieces and a nice and even quilt top where the pieces all go together nicely and everything matches. And those steps are going to be accurate prepping and cutting of the fabric. Then you have the accurate piecing part. And then, of course, you have to finish it off with accurate pressing of the fabric. And I'm going to share with you here a mistake that I see time and time again when I'm teaching beginner students. And that is where they mess up is at the end, where they're pressing the seam allowances. They press it so it's not nice and flat. So I'm going to share with you exactly how I recommend that you press your patchwork pieces to ensure accuracy. All right, so I have 2 samples and they were both sewn with the same scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. We're gonna press them, and I'm gonna press one correctly like I would recommend that you do, and another one with what I find a lot of beginners tend to do. So you press it flat to set the stitches in the seam, then we're gonna open it and we are going to press to one side. So a lot of my students online and in person, and I've seen it done, they open it and they just go like this and press it with the iron right there. Okay, so what do we have here? It looks like it's nice and flat, but if I pull it, you'll see that there is fabric folded and caught in there that could be stretched out and instead pressed all the way open. So you're eating up a lot, not to mention that you're distorting the seam now, because depending on how the fabric was underneath the iron when you pressed it down, I can just see that this top edge is wider than this one because this is fully folded. Now, if I turn it this way, I think you can see a little bit better how much of that fabric got folded under by me just pressing it from the top. Do you see that? I mean, that is a chunky 1/8 of an inch folded over. So my seams now, when I go to sew, say, the next patchwork pieces to create a block or whatever quilt, they're not going to be accurate. They're going to start getting all kinds of wonky, and things are going to start getting distorted, so they won't end up the way they're supposed to be. So now let me show you the difference between how I would recommend that you press your patchwork pieces for better accuracy. So I set the seam to set that, the stitches in place on the seam. Then we're going to open it, and I lift up whichever is the side that I want that seam allowance pressed to. So in this case, it's a sample with the same fabric, but you probably have heard quilters say press to the dark side. So if this was the darker of the 2 pieces, I would place it on my left, lift it up so that you see that the seam allowance is laying down on the ironing table on the side of the one that I want. So if this is my dark, I want the seam allowance going here, and I lift it up. I do not put it flat and hit it like we did here. Lift it up to create a groove for the tip of the iron to fit in, and the edge of it also. So I push in like this. Make sure you're not pressing down super hard and just pulling the fabric with you, distorting it, but press in there. You can see that now all the fabric that should be in that little kind of curl over part of the seam has now been pushed over, but it's still bubbling up like this. So now we go in there. Once we have moved everything out of the crease of the seam, then we press flat and hold it in place. So a lot flatter, a lot more accurate. I know that I don't have all this bubbled up fabric that's been creased and flattened out where it shouldn't be. And instead, I have a really nice piece of patchwork pieces that have been pieced together. So now let's take a more accurate kind of visual to make sure that this is the better one of these 2. And we can always check that by measuring with a ruler. So each of these strips measured 3 inches wide. I know that 3 plus 3 is 6. But when I sew them together, I'm eating up a little bit of that 6-inch measurement because of the seam allowance. So 1/4 inch plus a 1/4 inch is 1/2 an inch. So when I measure these 2 pieces across, since they've been sewn together, I should get 1/2 an inch less than what I started with, which in my case is going to be 5.5 inches. And if you see from the edge of my fabric here to right where the fabric ends is exactly 5.5. So this was accurate cutting, accurate piecing, and a lot of times people skip this step that I just showed you, but accurate pressing as well. So let's measure the other sample, the wrong one. At the top edge, I have 5 3/8, so that's no good. And you can see that it tapers off here because at this bottom edge, I'm measuring even less than 5 1/4. So this is a really wonky block. It's not been pressed correctly, although it was cut correctly and sewn correctly. So you gotta finish off that third step of your patchwork pieces by pressing it correctly. So again, you can always fix it if you mess it up, but I'm going in there, push everything out, and then press flat. And now you can see that if I go here and measure, now we're at exactly the 5 1/2 and the 5 1/2. All right, so there you have it. That is the tips that I recommend for accurate patchwork pressing to keep with the accuracy of your patchwork blocks. So cut accurately, sew accurately with that consistent scant 1/4 inch seam allowance, and make sure that you finish it off with some really good pressing. So there you have it, my quick tips on how you can get some accurate patchwork pieces by finishing it off with the correct pressing technique. I hope that that helps you, and if you're a beginner to quilting or you're trying to get your hands on more tips, tricks, skills, and techniques and quilt designs, use the link I've included for you in the description box below. You can head on over and learn more about my online quilt club that I have just opened up for students. It's 2019. I'm currently offering it at an early bird sale price up until Friday, May 24th, 2019 at 11:59 p.m. So if you're watching this video before then, know that you still have time to save $25 off of the regular price. If you're watching this video after the sale price has already ended, you can still join. You get access to all the video lessons. There are currently going to be over 32 different video lessons, including 3 different quilt designs that each come in 3 different sizes. We're doing 12 weeks worth of mystery blocks of the week, as well as 8 live chat sessions where you can ask me your questions live and in person, and so much more. We're gonna have a blast. I hope that you'll check it out and that you'll join us in my 2019 online quilt club. Thanks for watching this video. I hope that you'll put these tips to use, and I will see you in the next video.